Today's lesson, Chapter 3, Lesson 1, on page 177, is add and subtract decimals. The essential question that we will be answering for the chapter will be, how can estimating be helpful? Okay. Initially, we should not be able to answer that question. While we can theorize on it, we should not be able to answer that question yet. The main question that we really want to talk about is lesson EQ. Okay, how is estimation helpful when adding and subtracting decimals? We should be able to answer that question by the end of this chapter. So let's proceed. If you're at home and you missed this video, what I want you to write into your journal, your first entry, after you've given your title, add and subtract decimals, your first entry should be, when we add or subtract decimals, we line up the decimals. Again, let me say it again. When we add or subtract decimals, we line up the decimals. Say it with me. When we add or subtract decimals, we line up the decimals. Very important. Okay. We're going to have to be rounding today. So a quick review for rounding is, when rounding 4 or less, we let it rest. In other words, we round down. For an example, if it's 14.1, because we're dealing with decimals today, we'll be rounding the decimals to whole numbers. All right? So we take 14.1 and we round it down to 14 because it is 4 or less. We let it rest. In other words, we leave the whole number what it is. When rounding 5 or more, we raise the score. In other words, we round up. As an example, 17.8, again, we're rounding to a whole number, rounds up to 18. So we look at that first decimal place, the tenths place, and we round it up to 18. Okay, you should write that down into your journal. Take a moment, pause this video, all right, and write everything down here. If you know how to take notes in my class, you know that we do not actually write down the very first example problem if it is done for us. Okay? There is something to be said about reading. So here what we're going to do is we're going to just look at the first example. It says, find the sum of 23.1 and 5.8. Since this is the first time first lesson that I've given, all right, let's talk about what sum means. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. Let me say that again. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. So just reading the problem, we know that we are adding these two numbers together. Okay? As we talked about just a second ago about rounding, they do an estimate first. I prefer to do my estimate second, but that's fine. They do it first. All right? They estimate that 23.1 is 23 because it is 4 or less on the tenths place. And 5.8 rounds up to 6 because 8 is in the tenths place, and that is 8 or 5 or more. So they round the two numbers up to 23 plus 6, and that equals 29. Okay, on to the problem. The first thing we do is we write it correctly. We want to write one number on top of the other because we need to, look what it says, line up the decimal points. Okay, so they line up 23.1 and align it with 5.8. You find out that equals 28.9. And if you notice where the decimal point is placed, they just bring it straight down. Here, let me draw this for you. They just bring it, whoop. All right, it didn't work too well. Let's try it again. I'm going to pause the video and straighten on board. Excellent. That should take care of it. Okay, as they notice, they lined up the decimal points. And what they did with the decimal point is they just brought it straight down, right? That's why they lined it up. So all they had to do was just bring the decimal point straight down. And also you want to make sure that you're adding to the proper places. The tenths are being added to the tenths place. The ones place is being added to the ones place. And while there is not 2 tens places, there's at least 1 tens place, and that is being added to the tens place. So the reason why they estimated in the beginning was, was to check for reasonableness. Okay? And we find out that 28.9 is about, that little squiggly line means about, okay, or about equal to, is about equal to 29, and that is reasonable as far as we are concerned, okay? As long as there's not a huge number gap difference there, see, it's only a tenth or so, and if it's only, about 1 point away or so, we're okay with that. We just don't want it to be like, 4 or 5 difference, right? Okay, so let's move on to number 2. If you open up your journals not your journals, but your math book, and follow along like you should be, okay, you can fill in these numbers. You don't need to rewrite this or anything into your notes. Just put it into your right into your notebook. Okay, I don't like the way that is set. Let me move it up a little bit. Okay, excellent. Let me do it again. Lock it in place. Lock. Sorry about this. Whoop. Hit the wrong one, of course. Okay. All right. So we estimate 29.6. 6 is 5 or more, so we round it up to 30. 14.7 is rounded up to 15. We add the two together, we come out that it's 45. Okay, so now we're ready to go on to the problem. All right, we are going to line up the decimal points. Say it with me. We are going to line up the decimal points. Okay, 29.6 plus 14.7. All right, 6 plus 7 is 13. 3 carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. Okay, you come up with 44.3. All right, and that is reasonable to 45. And what's what we did there, right? We're just putting this number here. Okay. And we come up with 44.3. That is reasonable, okay? That is absolutely reasonable, okay? So now, let's push on to the next one. These, I expect you to write into your notebook, your journal, okay? And I will do each one individually to show you how I want it to look. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is line up the decimal points, right? 54.7 plus 21.4. 7 plus 4 is 11, carry the 1. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. All right, 5 plus 2 is 7. And all we need to do is just bring down the decimal point, okay? Beautiful. All right, now let's do the estimate. Now, what I'd like you to do it into your notes, okay, is put it right next to it. We're going to put the estimate like this. All right, and we'll put a little arrow to show where the estimate is. Okay, so we're going to estimate that 54.7 is 58. And we're going to add 58 to, well, 21.4 is rounded down to 21. 8 plus 1 is 9. 5 plus 2 is 7, 79. Whoops, what did I do wrong? Oh, that is not supposed to be 58. I apologize about that. That is supposed to be 55. 55, and then that is 76, and that is reasonable, okay? Sorry for that mistake. I apologize for that. If you wrote that down, make sure you erase it and change it, okay? All right, excellent. I will leave that up there. The next one, okay, which I will move so we can see it a little bit better. I'll put it here, okay? We're going to add 14.2. And we're going to line up the decimal points with 23.5, all right? My little plus symbols show the operation we're using. 5 plus 2 is 7. Bring down the decimal point. 4 plus 3 is 7. 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, now we're going to do our estimate. Okay, 14.2 is rounded down to 14. And 23.5 is rounded up to 24. This time I did not make the mistake as I did up there. Again, I apologize. 4 plus 4 is 8. 2 plus 1 is 3. And we see that 37.3 is about 38. Excellent. That is reasonable again. Okay, I'm going to bring this one down so we can see it down here. Up there's good. Okay, I'll move this. Can I not extend the page? I thought there was a way to extend the page somehow. If I move this up here, I cannot. Okay, anyway, I thought there was a way to extend the page. I could still swear I thought there was a way to extend the page. Is it over here maybe? Oh, okay, I'm going to pause the video for a second. Excellent, I have figured out a way to extend the page. Okay, so we're going to first line up the decimal points, right? Because we are adding or subtracting decimals, all right? And line up the decimal points. 5 plus 3 is 8. Bring down the decimal point. 7 plus 3 is 10, right? Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Excellent. Okay, we're going to do our estimate over here. 17.3 rounds down to 17. 33.5 rounds up to 34. Make sure I did that right. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. Excellent. This and 50.8 is about 51. Excellent. That's exactly a reasonable answer. We have done our math correctly. This is how we check our problems, all right? And I'll go by and say, check, we did that one. That one's reasonable. And up here, it is reasonable. Check. All right. Next thing. Now we're going to move on to subtraction. Again, since this is the first time that we have talked, number 3 says, find the difference, okay? You should know that difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So if we just saw find the difference of 5.774 and 2.371, we would know that it's a subtraction problem because difference means the answer to a, well, subtraction problem. Excellent. Okay? Again, we're just going to read through this. I ask that you follow along either with your textbook or with me. Okay? They first do the estimate. They estimate that 5.774 is about, it rounds up to 6, and that 2.371 rounds down to 2, and 6 minus 2 equals 4. Okay? First thing we do is, say it with me, line up the decimal points. Okay? If you know the little move that we've done in class, try to do it in class instead of underlining. Just line up your fingers front to back and line up the decimal points. Okay. After subtracting, they come up with 3.403. Okay, and you just subtract this whole number. It says it right there. You just subtract normally. And then they check for reasonableness, and they find out 3.403 is about 4. That is reasonable. Excellent. Okay, the next one, again, all you needed to follow along. Okay, they're going to do a little move here. Okay, let's look at it. It says find 6 minus 4.78. They first do some quick estimation. You do not have to mess with the 6. Okay, and you have to round up 4.7825, and 6 minus 5 is 1. Excellent. Now we actually do the work itself. First, if you notice something, that when they put the 6, they line it up with the 4 because the whole numbers are lined up properly. There is no decimal in 6, but they give 6 a decimal. If there's no decimal behind a whole number, it is assumed to be at the far right of the whole number. Okay? So they annex zeros. Annex zeros means that they add zeros onto it so that it has the same number of decimal places. Okay? So after doing the subtraction, they find out it comes up to that 6 minus 4.78 is equal to 1.22. They check that 1.22 is about 1, and that is reasonable for our answer. Excellent. Okay, on to the next page. In your textbook, you can write here. That's what I'm asking you to do, is go ahead and follow along and write this. They have 23 minus 4.216, okay? So they put 23 here. The decimal place is there for us, and we're going to have to annex 3 zeros. Annex the zeros, okay? And minus 4.216. Excellent. I will do the work. Just, if you want to fill it in after I'm done doing it, that's fine. Okay, we need to regroup. They used to call it borrowing, okay? I call it regrouping. We try to use actual math terms as best we can in here. We try to speak math. Okay, 10 minus 6, after regrouping, 10 minus 6 is 4, 9 minus 1 is 8, 9 minus 2 is 7, 2 minus 4, we need to regroup to do that. 12 minus 4 is 8. Bring down the 1 because 1 minus 0 equals 1. And we find out that the answer to our problem is 18.74. Let's go ahead and off to the side, why don't we go ahead and do some rounding and see if check for reasonableness. We'll go ahead and do it right here. 23 doesn't round, and we minus 4 from it, right? Because 4.216 rounds down to 4 because you're just looking at the tenths place. Don't start all the way at the end and start rounding. Just start at the tenths place. We don't need to be too technical at this point in time. Okay? You have to regroup. And 13 minus 4 is 9. Bring down to 1. And 18.748 is approximately 19. Excellent. That is checking for reasonableness. Scroll down, and we find, now we're going to find the difference to each one of these. since I now have the power to extend my page, all right, I think, let me edit, view, extend page on. Why is it not in view? Here, let's click that off and see. There it is. Okay, excellent. All right. First thing we do is we set up our problem by lining up the decimals. Say it with me. We set up the problem by lining up the decimals because we are subtracting decimals. And when we subtract decimals, we, well, line up the decimals. Okay, excellent. All right, let's do some actual subtraction. 3 minus 1 is 2. 4 minus 7, we need to regroup. We'll just regroup from the 5 for now. 14 minus 7 is 7. 4 minus 6, we need to regroup from the 9, so we turn it to 8. We borrow it, put the 10 over here. 14 minus 6 is 8. Bring down the decimal. 8 minus 3 is 5. Excellent. Let's go ahead and check. Let's go ahead and check for reasonableness. We will estimate. E-S-T-I-M-A-T-E. Okay, excellent. Okay. 9.5 rounds up to 10. Subtract. 3.6 rounds up to 4. And we find that 10 minus 4 equals 6. And 5.872 is reasonable to 6. It's approximately 6. Excellent. That's beautiful. All right. Hit the extend page button. Let's grab this guy. Oh, let's unlock him. Bring him down. I'll unlock this guy before we get going. Oh. Move him over here so I can grab him later. All right. We will set up our problem. All right. When we set up our problem, we line up the decimal points, right? Because we are subtracting, and when subtracting, we line up the decimal points. This is dollars and cents, so this is about as real world as it gets. All right. 2 minus 1 is 1. 6 minus 8 we cannot do. We cannot borrow from the 0, so we have to regroup all the way over here. Cannot regroup from the 0. All right. 10, 9, we have to regroup again. 16 minus 8 is 8. Bring down the decimal point because that's all you need to do, right? And if you want to draw that, that's fine. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. Correct. We will estimate. Okay. 50.6 rounds up to 51. Minus. And 39.8 rounds up to 40. 1 minus 0 is 1. 5 minus 4 is 1. And 10.181 is about 11. Excellent. That's beautiful. That's what we're looking for, that reasonableness. Okay, let's bring this guy down. Extend page. It's exciting. All right. At any point in time, if I'm moving too fast for you, pause the video. It's why it's a video. Hit the little pause button. Okay. All right. And the first thing that we do is we line up the decimal points, right? Before I start annexing zeros, I want to write the problem out first. All right. Now, it looks like we need to have just as many decimal places as we do in the 14 as we do in 9.09. So here we annexed zeros. Okay. Okay. I just want to show it once, write it once. You should know what it means now. Okay. You may not have heard of the word annex, but that's okay. No biggie. All right. We need to do some regrouping first. All right. All the regrouping. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 0 is 9. Bring down the decimal point. Okay. And, okay, here we'll do it like that. 13 minus 9 is 4. Excellent. Now we're going to do our estimate. Look, I'm just going to start it here. It's T-I-M-A-T-E, right? And I'll put the little ear here. But I'm going to start up here. Look, I'm just going to start right here. Okay? All right. 9.0 is about, it rounds down to 9. Excellent. 14 minus 9 is 5. Okay? And 4.91 is about 5. Excellent. That is reasonable. Okay? All right? Again, you want to write down my examples in your journal. All right? The 3 problems that I did for adding and the 3 problems that I did for subtracting, you want to write just like I did, just how I did it, into your journal. If you don't understand how it's supposed to be written, just come to me and I will give you the journal that we use in your class and you can just copy what I did. But you should for sure be able to at least do some of the notes. I do like it if you watch the video first and then come in and grab my notes and watch the video as you take notes again. That is probably the best way to learn. You want to watch the video first, then grab someone's notes, watch the video again, and copy the notes as they happen, okay? It's probably one of the most effective ways to study with a video. Okay, so we have, again, you want to pause if you need to. We have one more problem, okay? And all I ask is that you follow along. But the thing that we're going to do with this problem, and what I would like you to do into your notes, or not to your notes, I apologize, into your textbook that we have, your folder textbook, all right, is I want you to do cubes with this. Remember where we do the circling, underlining, boxing, what is it? Evaluate and solve, okay, and check. Okay, we want to do that stuff. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do it, and you just kind of follow along what I'm going to do, and I want you to, follow along in your book and do exactly as I do. The first thing we're going to do is read the problem completely through before we do anything. Reagan is creating a video. The first video clip was 22.36 minutes long. The second video clip was 17.03 minutes long. What is the total length of the video? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is circle any key numbers. Key numbers, right? So we need to know what the total length of the video was. That means we need to know how long each video was. So we will circle 22.36 and we will circle 17.03 because we need to know those minutes. Okay? The next thing is underline. Sorry. I apologize. Hold on. Underline the question. Okay? The question is, what is the total length of the video? Okay? The next thing that we need to do is box any math action words. Okay? Before I box it, I want you to try to do it. Okay? Pause the video, try to find out what the math action word is, and box it. Okay? I'll give you a second to pause it. Okay? Now I'm going to box it. Welcome back. And what we're looking for is the total, I'll even do length. It's really the total length, okay? Total length, okay? That is the math action word. That tells us we need to know what the total is, which leads us to know that we need to add them, okay? And then we evaluate the steps to take, okay? We need to, first, it's decimals, and it's adding. So what's the first thing we need to do is we need to line up the decimal points. Remember, when we add or subtract decimals, we line up the decimal points. Okay, now we're going to solve it. Okay, we line up the decimal points like they have done. They add as with whole numbers, and they come up with 39.39. Okay, up at the top there, they estimated it that 22.36 is estimated to be 22, and 17.03 is estimated to be 17. And when you add 22 and 17 together, you get 39. And 39.39 is about 39. Excellent. We have checked for readiness. I say readiness. Reasonableness. All right. If you're at home watching this, you need to start the guided practice if you didn't do the guided practice already. When you are done with the guided practice, continue on to the homework. The homework for this section is page 183, 184, all.
When the following